This is the I Heart My Life show. Welcome to the I Heart My Life show. Today, we're exploring the art of conscious indulgence, not just in the way that we eat, but in the way that we live. In a world that rushes through meals and moments alike, how often do we truly savor what's actually in front of us? So today's guest is someone I'm really excited to get to know and to learn from. She's so eclectic in everything that she does in the world. Her name is Emily Pogany, and she's an intuitive holistic healer and the founder of MASAH, which is a spiritual lifestyle and wellness brand created to help people slow down, indulge with intention, and connect more deeply with themselves. Through her signature chakra caramels and holistic approach to self-care, Emily invites us to turn everyday rituals into sacred experiences. Together on this episode, we're going to explore what it means to shift from consumption to presence, from autopilot to intention, and how something as simple as enjoying a piece of caramel can be a doorway to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So welcome, Emily. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for such a beautiful introduction. I'm so excited to be here.
So I always love to start with people's backstory because there's always something that led to the work that you do in the world, especially someone like you, where your work is so interesting, it's so eclectic, and honestly, it speaks to my heart because I'm definitely a multi-passionate entrepreneur and like to do all the things. And also, it speaks to me because I'm not someone who's good at slowing down. I was eating right before this and I was like looking at my phone as I was eating my avocado and realized, okay, I need this episode just as much as the listeners. So anyway, take us back and share a little bit about your journey to the work that you do today.
Absolutely. And I'll quickly share, I'm often standing in my kitchen in between calls and meetings, eating something, looking at my phone. So I'm just as guilty sometimes as everybody else. I'm human. I have my moments, but I do try to catch myself. And I am more conscious than not when I go to eat something. But we're human. At the end of the day, we're human and we can't beat ourselves up, and we're busy and we have days. So I was a very witchy kid. The realms of the supernatural and witchcraft felt more real to me than my real life. And for me as a kid, I had a lot of trouble feeling like I fit in and that I belonged here. Looking back now, knowing what I know and doing what I do, I felt the displacement of my soul a little bit, who doesn't necessarily have earthly origins. Movies and TV shows like Hocus Pocus, Death Becomes Her, they felt like an escape to me too, that I can just kind of get lost in. But around that time too, I always kind of wondered why I wasn't living in a kinder world. I was always really confused deep in my heart and soul why there was violence in the world, why people were just awful to each other. I didn't understand it. And I also, circling back to the witchcraft, could not comprehend how and why magic was not real. Like, it really threw me. It's like, why can't I do what they're doing in these movies? And it really frustrated me. And I couldn't explain why I felt that way. So, long story short, by walking through the journey that I have through personal and spiritual development and empowerment, learning the science of how the subconscious mind works, how we create our own reality, how that requires us to take personal responsibility and accountability for the life experiences that we create, that woke me up. I wouldn't say overnight, but it brought me onto a completely new trajectory where if I can master changing my life through my thoughts, my beliefs, my actions, my energy, my energetic input and output, this is how I'm going to help people. And this is the closest form to magic that I can get in this world. That's really the short version. Otherwise, we will be here for 38 years.
Thank you. So I'm curious to know, you said you were a very witchy kid. What did that look like? I know that you said you were obviously very attracted to those types of movies that were an escape and you were interested in magic, but what did that actually look like?
Getting together with friends in my neighborhood, picking twigs and leaves and berries, trying to recreate our own like stews and potions that we would see on TV and in movies, messing around with Ouija boards before I knew better. What else? Those were the big things that I remember.
And when it comes to your family, so this is like super interesting to me because I don't know anything about being a witch. I don't know anything about that stuff. And so I grew up Catholic and very religious. And I'm curious to know, was this something your family accepted, or what was their belief system, or how did they look at this kind of the perspective that you had that might have been a bit more unique?
Absolutely. So my family's Jewish, and Judaism is a very important part of my life. There are some family members who are more religious than I am as adults, and I'm going to work from present to these days. Actually, these days and when I was little, my family left me to my own devices. I am more active and practicing as a witch personally and professionally now, but my siblings in particular, while they might disagree and don't believe in what I do, they're still respectful of me and I of them. And we each stay in our own lanes. It's interesting with their dynamic too, because they are a part of two different sects of Judaism and they don't necessarily agree with the other one. So it's a really interesting dynamic. But as a kid, I'm also the youngest child. So I was really left to my own devices and playing Make Believe, playing with my friends in the neighborhood, friends from school. My siblings are 8 and 11 years older than me, so it really didn't affect them. My parents have always had an aspect of spirituality in them that they were interested in. They were always interested in homeopathy, holistic modalities that they would pair alongside Western medicine. So at the end of the day, then and now, I'm not doing anything to hurt anybody. They see what truly lights me up and makes me come alive and betters my life, and they're all for it. But with this being said, when my spiritual journey really activated and I was finding my mediumship really kick off, I remember being in Florida for one of my niece's bat mitzvahs. And this is when some other members of my family were finding their Judaism on a deeper level. I said to her after that, if I wasn't supposed to be doing this work, if I wasn't supposed to be aware of these gifts, why would God create me with them? Why would God create us all with these abilities? And she had nothing to say to that. And we've had this conversation down the line. So this is not new or shocking to anybody. But it's just interesting how much we are programmed and conditioned from religion.
Yeah, and how many people who are religious, faith based, they have so much judgment towards differences when the whole point is for us to show more love and compassion and kindness. So, totally understand where you're coming from. And I'm curious to know, you said there was a point where your mediumship really came full force and was activated. What did that look like for you?
That was a fun one. That was a real fun one. So I was really close to all of my grandparents, and 3 out of 4 of them passed away in a short span of time when I was in high school. Another one just 2.5, 3 years ago. But one of them I was particularly close to, my grandfather, who I called Papa, is my mom's dad. He always wore Old Spice. And I remember mid 2000s, I was standing in my apartment. I just got out of the shower. I was walking to my room. I was stopped dead in my tracks because it smelled like I just walked into a cloud of Old Spice someone just sprayed. I froze and I was like, Papa? It's like that scene in Yentl and she starts like singing. I felt his energy, his energetic signature, his imprint, and I got a yes very strongly. I bawled my eyes out. I've never experienced anything like that at that point in life. And in a matter of a minute, it was gone. It didn't linger in my home. I had no perfume or any lotions or products that smelled like that. It was a really wild experience. And then it did happen one more time, just like that, when I was actually at my parents' house a couple years ago. And I called my mom over as quick as possible, and she got to experience it. And it's little things like that help me process loss. Because even as a medium, I'm still a human who struggles with the concept of death. Like, how is somebody who's here one day, not the next, and I can't see the people I love, I can't hug them, I can't talk to them in the way that I would truly like. So, yeah, I've found that one of the most common ways my mediumship does open up is through scent. I will smell a perfume or cologne or flower or something.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And when it comes to the witchcraft element, what exactly is that? Because I'm curious to know how you kind of bring all these things together, because I know you work with clients in one-on-one and other programs. What does that actually look like?
As far as my own personal practice,
Yeah, the witchcraft piece.
so this is a really broad topic, and the term witch means a lot of things to a lot of people. It's a dark feminine power that we all possess, and it's really utilizing your soul's gifts and energy in ways that empower you, support you, and I would say in ways that help people. But as we know, not all magic and energy is used for the highest good, but it's really tapping into our own innate wisdom and magic. And there are a variety of ways we can do that. Some people work with tools like crystals, they'll scry, so they'll get like a mirror and do scrying that way. They'll work with herbs, pendulums, tarot cards. I kind of play around with a mix of everything just to find what resonates with me at that given time. Sometimes I'll feel called to pull cards for myself. There is a connection within me to herbalism, so I've been trying to play around and explore that a lot more. It sounds so simple because a lot of people in feng shui talk about it. I love making simmer pots. I love utilizing the craft, intention, and energy of simmer pots with astrological events, full moons, new moons, eclipses. Anytime I have a specific intention I want to manifest and infuse my home and my space with. But I have not really practiced a lot of my craft with clients. I have started dabbling a little bit in business witchcraft and teaching other entrepreneurs how to work with their own energy and magic for healthier, more abundant careers and businesses to create and launch new projects. My background spiritually is in Reiki, which I've recently put aside. So it's been a bit of a newer journey for me to go deeper in my witchcraft and uncover new gifts.
I love that. And it sounds like the way you described it, that actually anyone could tap into that. And it's about utilizing your energy. And it's super interesting to hear you talk about it in that way, because I feel like it's similar to things that I do. I just never considered it to be witchcraft. Like, I just thought it was manifesting and energy work. And, there's obviously different terms, but I'm glad that you described that for people who were curious and haven't necessarily understood what it actually means.
It's all one and the same. It's really dependent on what verbiage you're comfortable with. It's the same thing when people aren't comfortable using God, they'll say source, universe, what have you.
So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about conscious indulgence. So I know you're really passionate about this. We talked a little bit about it already in the intro, slowing down, really tuning in. I know it goes beyond food. So can you tell us a little bit more about what this means to you?
Engaging with conscious intention and being self aware with whatever you approach, whether that's your work, a meal, a snack, a beverage. Take wine for an example. So many of us who are not on a sober journey or a sober curious journey love a glass of wine every once in a while. And there are times I've personally approached wine as a means of grounding myself and regulating my nervous system after a long day, which is what we find the most common in society. And I've had to check myself on that real fast and choose to only touch alcohol when I feel celebratory. It's just one of those, like, let me just go out for a drink and enjoy the evening. It's a practice of engaging all of your senses to drop out of the mind into the body and come back into the present moment to really experience yourself. What are the sensations available to you and for you right now? Are you enjoying the company of the people you're with? Are you enjoying your own company? Or are you turning to this thing, whether it is work, alcohol, drugs, sex, whatever? Are you trying to escape and numb yourself? So it's a practice of just being a little more aware and switching off or on different parts of your brain so you can make the most out of this moment. Because here's the thing, so many of us, if not all of us, are trying to manifest more abundance, right? But in order to do that, we have to allow ourselves to experience the full spectrum of sensation, or I should say, referring to what a lot of the spiritual community refers to as low vibe versus high vibe. Without pain, there's no pleasure. Without pleasure, there is no pain.
And so why do you think it's so challenging for people? You mentioned, using wine to ground yourself. Why have we been so disconnected, and why have we turned to things to heal us or to ground us or to make us feel better in this way?
It's uncomfortable. Self awareness is real uncomfortable. I remember this was one of the most embarrassing things to happen to me, yet one of the greatest gifts that I didn't realize at the time. I was a sophomore or junior in high school. I was the quintessential Debbie Downer. I was always complaining about something. And finally, one of my friends, my best friend since kindergarten, had enough. And she called me out, and it woke me up to the fact that not only did I not want to look within, I didn't know how. Nobody was doing this stuff way back when in the 90s and early 2000s, right? So it's a little jarring to challenge what we've been taught to be true and a specific way we've been living our lives. It's really confronting to see ourselves and achieve such a deep level of intimacy and vulnerability with ourselves. So most people would rather run from it and numb themselves.
For sure. And what do you do in those moments when you say with the wine, you realize, oh, hey, I'm using this to ground myself or to relieve stress? How do you shift that? What do you do instead?
It was a practice for a while when I wasn't fully self aware with that. And I chose to proceed anyway. But these days, my body is so in tune with my intuition that it's like, I won't even grab it. I won't grab it. I will try to find something else. I'll go do something else. I will be more in tune with, like, okay, what do I really need right now? And if I do need to feel safe or secure, can I go turn to a self pleasure practice? Can I turn to some breath work? But I would say for anybody who is just starting to find that they're looking for an escape or something to fill a void within themselves, move really slow and gently with yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Just you can close your eyes, take some deep breaths, you can put a hand on your heart and simply tell yourself, I hear you. Like, I see I am experiencing this. And ask yourself, what would I have me do instead? Or if you're speaking to your body, how would you have me proceed to maybe feel more love, to feel more secure at a certain point in time? It's about asking the right questions to yourself. So your soul can not only start speaking to you, but you can listen with clarity and intention.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And I do find that obviously the people you're surrounded by are going to have a big impact on you as well. And obviously, you and I are in the business of personal development and growth. And so we support clients with this all the time. But even recently, when I was with my family, we were in Florida on a vacation, my extended family. And my family is very into fitness, and I've kind of fallen off the wagon with that lately, especially after having a baby and, all the things with business. And those are just excuses. But anyway, I found myself wanting to work out more, wanting to be more active. And that was just over, a week long period, which I thought was such a reminder that people are going to impact our action. And so I think, especially in the moment we just talked about where alcohol is such a social thing, it's also looking at how can you set yourself up for success? How can you surround yourself with people who are able to look at themselves, be honest about what they're actually experiencing, make a different decision, and start to make those shifts? Because it is very challenging when like your whole social life revolves around drinking or doing a certain activity or eating. And so also like being honest with yourself about what you really need to start to make those changes.
Absolutely. It really does depend on who you're surrounding yourself with. And if you are not enjoying who you're with, or rather, because this is the real test, if you love who you're with, but you are finding yourself outgrowing them, or interests are starting to become misaligned, that's when you can start allowing yourself to play around and try out a new hobby, go to a networking event, and see where you want to play.
Love it. So, can you talk a little bit about what it means to really savor something in your life? I love that word. And I think it's something that, we're all so busy, we're not doing enough of.
I think this goes back to conscious indulgence, really making sure that you're present. If you are, let's say, going out to dinner with somebody, finish what you need to do to wrap up for the day before you go out. Keep your phone down and stay present with your company. Nothing is more frustrating than being with somebody who would rather be on their phone. I think we're all becoming more conscious in that way. But again, slowing down, thoroughly chewing your food, making sure you're tasting the flavors of your meal and you're finding a moment of gratitude for that moment, or for having food on your plate. As a little cliche as that can sound to some people, the more you thoroughly chew your food too, you're activating your digestive enzymes. So it actually supports your digestion when you are conscious and present and savoring and consciously indulging in something. But taking the time to engage and utilize all of your senses. How does the food smell? This is funny. Something that I have people do, because I always love to share what I love with the people that I love, or with anyone really. Anytime I'm with somebody right in front of them who are holding a bag of my caramels, I will have them open it and smell it first, because they just smell so good. And that actually, I think it stimulates your appetite as well. But finding pleasure in whatever moment you're in with whatever you're doing, it's easy to savor in that moment because you want to stay present. You don't want to get distracted. You want to take advantage of the time you have in that moment.
Yeah, such an amazing reminder. And for everyone listening who's like, yeah, this is great and sounds really beautiful, why does this actually matter? Like, I'm curious to know what have been some of the shifts that you've experienced by implementing this in your life.
I live with less regret. I live with less regret because I'm more present. And the more present I am, and the more present we can all be, and really enjoying the moment that we're in, that activates the energy of abundance, which boosts our finances. It supports the health and well being of our bodies. We're more pleasant to be around, because if we didn't take these mindful pauses and timeouts, if we were just constantly hustling and on the go, think about those people in your life. They're not really pleasant to be around. It's a little annoying, actually, because you want them to be present in your company. You want to be able to have a nourishing conversation, to reconnect. You don't want to be with somebody who is constantly stressed and complaining about something. I was that person, and I lost a lot of people because of it, because nobody wanted to be around me. And if it's difficult, you have to find those micro moments, whether it is mealtime, whether it's getting ready for the day or before you go to sleep. Can you add a little something into your morning or evening ritual to do something for yourself, to invite in a moment of pleasure, and start to observe how those steps can start to build and then catapult you into, I'm going to take this full hour for myself, because it has helped me sleep. It has helped regulate my nervous system. I can focus more during the day. I have more clarity. I have more energy. I can actually get in a workout, which is helping me move energy from my body, which is again contributing to clarity, peace of mind, focus, presence, enjoyment, fulfillment. My finances are increasing. I'm actually enjoying my life.
Thank you for explaining that. And Selfishly, like I said, I was excited for this conversation because it's all reminders that I need. And we know this stuff, right? But we have to reprogram our mind to know that it's okay to take that time, and more than it's okay, like it's essential, and find that thing that motivates us. For some people, they're going to latch on to the fact that you said have more energy. Some people will be more abundance. Some will be happiness. Some will be presence, no regret. So, like, finding the thing that is your why and reminding yourself that this is why we're doing that Peloton session. This is why we're taking that walk. This is why we're being present with our food and with our family. Because for some of us, myself included, it's not a natural way of being. Like, I can sit at the computer and not move for like 12 hours because I'm obsessed with my work. And then obviously I feel terrible afterwards. And so it's like needing to remind myself of all those things that you just described.
It all links back to sovereignty too, and it's taking back control of your own life. People within the spiritual industry, which I'm sure you found, they refer to the matrix, they refer to the patriarchy. Well, if you want to get out, we're never really going to get out fully, but if you want some semblance of control and sovereignty back in your life, you have to start giving yourself permission to act on some ounce of pleasure in your body and your life and create your life on your terms.
Because if we're all honest with ourselves, of course, we'd love to have more pleasure in our lives. Like, it's the lack mindset and this belief system that we have to keep forcing ourselves to do all these things and, run ourselves into the ground and not take time for everything we just talked about. That's a total lack mindset. If we were shifted into the abundant state of thinking and belief system, then we'd be making very different choices.
Absolutely. And it's a muscle, it just takes practice. But the first step is calling yourself out. And I have to do that every single day.
Yeah, and just building that trust muscle with yourself. I always tell people that it's really about you developing a relationship with you and making different choices and starting to trust and keep your word to yourself. I think that for people, a lot of times is the biggest thing to work on because they're breaking promises left and right and not committing to the things, even, all the pleasurable things that we just talked about that they said they were going to do to really make big changes.
There's so much complaining out there, how people want others to treat them with more respect, more kindness when it comes to romantic relationships. Let's say someone breaks up with a partner and they'll start sending them articles about narcissism and sociopathy. You have to reflect on why you created that experience. How did you lend a hand in that partnership and that dynamic? Where do you need to be accountable and take responsibility? Where do you need to heal your beliefs about the opposite sex, about relationships, about how you deserve to be treated? Do you love yourself? Because at the end of the day, everyone is a mirror to us in some way, whether we want to accept it or not.
Great point. So I'm curious to know, I heard you on another podcast and you were talking about a period of time where you were going through challenges and you worked with different mentors to support you in making some big shifts. Recently, I had a healing session with somebody and she said that she identified that someone had put a curse on me and a curse on my relationship and my bank account. And this was like, again, like the witchcraft piece. It was a new concept to me, but the way she explained it was that anyone can put a curse on you. It's really just energy. So I'm curious to know your thoughts on that. And the reason I was bringing up, your transformation, what do you do when you're feeling stuck or blocked and want to move through it?
So, those are two completely different conversations. I'm so glad you asked. When it comes to the curse aspect, that's a little difficult to go into in such a short period of time, but I will share. Energy is real. Energetic output is real. Our subconscious mind is creating a reality. So if you are intentionally cursing someone in your mind, if you're giving someone the finger in traffic, you just cursed them, and vice versa. If someone's jealous of you, if someone's resentment, that can create a buildup of energy. But the only way we can receive an attachment or a curse or there's curse like energy, it's because something's already going on in our field. And I would recommend, if you are not experienced in this area of energetics, please seek someone out who is experienced and knowledgeable and educated on it in a healthy way, in a neutral way to guide you. My mentor right now is the only one who has access to my field. She's the only one that has my permission, teaches on exactly what this work is all about and how to clear all of those things. So there are ways to protect ourselves, and it always starts with doing our shadow work and healing any wounds that could potentially be weaponized. I will leave that there. And if anyone has questions, please DM me, and I can also redirect you to my mentor because I do not personally help clients with that anymore. In regards to when I feel blocked, I will do my shadow work. I will look at, is this tied to a limiting belief that I have? Is this because there's some kind of action I'm not taking in my day? For me, it ties back to something that you recently shared about working out. I was going a long period of time without moving my body. We need our body. Our body is the bridge between heaven and earth. It is what allows our soul to have this full experience and get our work done and our service out into the world. And I got so lost and stuck in the spiritual, and I had no energy or capacity in my physical body to not only hold my energy, but ground it. And of course, I couldn't expand. So my finances were changing, they were dwindling. Different opportunities were falling through the cracks because I was not here and I was not present. So my day has had to change a little bit more. I have to get outside every day. I have to move my body in some capacity or do something to stay grounded and present. I make sure to look at the state of my chakras every day. Does something feel blocked, stagnant? Do I need to move energy a little bit more? Sometimes it'll be breath work, but it really depends on where you feel blocked, what kind of block or challenge you're experiencing, and then finding the correlating action that can go with that. Someone can feel stuck on social media. Are you showing up and offering value every day, every other day, a couple times a week? Are you actually putting yourself out there? If not, okay, maybe look at the throat chakra and the heart chakra. Where are you afraid of being seen and being visible and doing work from that intention?
Thank you so much. And I know we're going to get into the chakra piece in just a little bit. It's going to be a special episode just for our club members. But I'm so grateful for your answers to both of those questions. I know they were very different questions in one sentence, especially the piece around, the curse and the energy and what it looks like to, number one, receive that, but also do that to other people, because sometimes we don't know the power of our thoughts or we forget. And also, nothing is going to affect you unless there's already something there to be affected. Like you said, looking at the shadow work, where are your wounds, where are things kind of like penetrating and why. So I love that.
If I may share this is actually a little bit of a crazy story. I went to Greece in 2023. I was so uncomfortable energetically most of the time, which I realized was because the evil eye design is everywhere. There are energies bouncing back and forth between those designs, whether it was the Hamsa, different evil eye, amulet, whatever. It was like energy in the spaces that I was in, like Athens and Mykonos, it had nowhere to go. It was like it just kept bouncing between these different stores and people, wearing it. It was a really wild experience. So, yeah, I feel like that country has started on the right trajectory, but they need to find a way to collectively keep transmuting and alchemizing that quote unquote evil eye that, people carry or possess or send each other.
So interesting. And I think that's such a great reminder that, we all have our intuition and to trust, like if your energy is feeling off, there's a reason for it. It's not just like you're in a funk or whatever, like there's something actually going on. And sometimes it's something outside of you. So just working with, someone like yourself or your mentor, or people who are tuned in to help us better understand that and gain that knowledge is so powerful. Amazing. So we're going to put all your links below and make sure that everyone is directed to be able to find you. Like I said, we're going to do a special segment in just a second on chakras and really tuning into what that means and understanding it. And also, I want to ask one more question before we close off. This is a question I ask all of our guests. What is one way that people can create a life that's better than their dreams, that exceeds what they envisioned for themselves and creates more abundance than they could ever envision?
This answer is going to have a couple different components, but this is the way. Get really clear on what your vision is. What do you really want? And if you find yourself clenching or holding back, take a deep breath and let that go. Just write down what you really want, even if it doesn't seem feasible. From there, ask yourself, what is one action step, one macro or micro action step you can take every day to get you closer to creating the thing, having the thing, connecting with a person. And then as you start to take action and limiting beliefs come up or fears come up, handle them in real time. Ask, why am I afraid? What am I afraid could happen, will happen? Is this ultimately true? Start playing around within your own energetics to surpass what you currently believe to be true and expand yourself into what is truly limitless and infinite, which is what your soul is. So have fun with it. Make it a game for yourself and give yourself the opportunity to truly see how capable you are. And you may find when you start to take the action, things are going to unfold easier than you expected them to. There are so many days lately where wild things are happening. And I'm like, this was not on my bingo card this year. But they also happen to be things that are coming full circle from when I first started out really getting serious with spirituality and energetics back in 2015, 2016. People that I only dreamt of connecting with. We're following each other on social media. I am giving them product to have at their retreats. You never know who's going to come back around when your energies align and you match that vibration. So you really have to learn how to develop your confidence and belief in yourself, especially when it feels like nobody else sees it or feels that way or engages with you in the way that you want.
Thank you so much. I love that answer. Amazing. Well, thank you, Emily. It's been a pleasure to have you here. And I know you also have your amazing caramels. Can you share a little bit about that before we close out?
Yeah. So I also want to share really quick, don't wait on what you want to do. When I stopped waiting, the world opened up for me. I now travel solo. I stopped waiting for friends' schedules to line up, the partner to show up, all that stuff. Just go do the thing. With the caramels, they are a line of coconut milk and coconut sugar based, essential oil infused, and Reiki charged caramels with 7 flavor blends to support and balance each of the 7 chakras, while also providing a really clean, indulgent alternative to traditional caramels. And on the back of the package, there's a QR code that says meditate with me, that links to a guided meditation by me for that chakra, about 5 to 8 minutes, real quick intro to just drop in to start connecting with that energy center, no matter where you're at on your own journey.
Amazing. Can't wait to check those out. I love it. And I love that you just went for it. It sounds like it's one of those things that you didn't wait for.
No, it took me 8 years in development from conception to launch, and I never faltered because I just knew in my bones this is what I was meant to birth.
Thank you. So inspiring. We'll link everything below, like I said, so people can follow you, work with you, learn from you. Really appreciate you. I appreciate you understanding that I'm a novice on this topic and explaining everything and helping me to just have a clear picture of the amazing work that you do in the world and the power that's within all of us. So thank you so much.
Thank you. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the I Heart My Life show. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with 3 friends or post about it on social media using the hashtag I Heart My Life show. And don't forget to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. It really does help us spread the movement far and wide. Remember, everything you desire is possible. Keep believing in your dreams and taking action.